Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. Welcome back to the Since I Was Young podcast for all things Hearts of Midlothian. Joining you, as always, is myself, Ewan Ramsey, and my beautiful co-host, Alan Scrimger. Alan, how are you doing, sir? You all good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. My voice has recovered after yesterday, so all is good. I feel good today.
Wonderful, sir, and aptly said as well, because that is going to be our main topic for this episode of the Since I Was Young podcast. Of course, we're going to delve into what was yesterday's game as we are recording the day after, which was a victorious day for Hearts, where they beat Motherwell 2-0. And of course, as well, we will delve slightly back as well into the not so great result against Celtic, where we lost at Tynecastle 2-1. So we will delve a bit into both of those games as well. And if we have time as well, we'll take a brief look into the next massive game at Easter Road, where it is the second Edinburgh derby of the season. So we will look a bit into that, of course, and that is going to be our main plan for this week's podcast. And of course, before we get started, if you are a fan of the Since I Was Young podcast but not yet subscribed, please think about subscribing, smash that like button as well, because it is always appreciated, guys. If you want to get in contact with us through our socials as well, you can. We are at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at SIWY pod. Alternatively as well, if you want to get in contact with us through our email as well, since I was young 1874 at gmail.com. And lastly, of course, if you want to get in contact with either myself or Alan, our links to our Twitter pages as well will be in the description. So, Alan, we haven't really got a news segment from yourself this week, but when we thought it would be nice to just touch on our new additions to the squad that has happened throughout this week. Of course, we have brought in, and which was music to my ears, we finally brought in a fucking striker, an out and out big boy fucking striker, and I was absolutely delighted. And of course, I am referring to Ellis Sims, that was brought in on loan for the rest of the season from Everton, and a very surprising move, that kind of came out of nowhere as well. It was the return of Toby Sabek, of course. He was on loan for a brief spell during the period of Daniel Stendel, but through some injuries and illnesses as well, he didn't feature that much. But in a surprise return, he has signed a 3.5-year deal for Hearts, which is absolutely fantastic. So, Alan, are you pretty happy with these new lag additions to the squad?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we said it before that I mean, not just us. I think everybody's been saying it, that we need another striker to come in. Obviously, with the sale of Nandule, it made it more important that we got one. And yeah, look, Ellis, he fits the profile of what we're looking for. He's young. I think he's only 22, 21, 22 actually. 21 years old, and still at the early stages of his career. He was at Blackpool last season, or the season prior. The way the world is with COVID and everything, the years are all getting muddled up for me. But it was his first professional loan out at Blackpool, and he scored 8 goals in 20 odd games.
Not bad.
Helped them to get to the playoffs and in English football. So yeah, he's definitely got something about him. I was really, really pleased to see him, obviously, from the start against Motherwell. But obviously we'll go into it because he had an impact in the Celtic game as well.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks like a striker. He looks like a big striker that could get us a few goals between now and the end of the season. But I think as well, before we sort of dive into more about him, I think that it's massive because it takes the pressure off Boyce as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So no, really, really pleased. On Toby Sabek, I thought, it was one of those that, I'm not surprised that we've gone and got him, because obviously with the injury to Halkett and Suter potentially going, we don't know yet if he's going to go before the end of January. We're a bit light in that area too. So I think Toby Sabek, it's one of those that he was with us before, like you say, but he didn't play that many games, but the fans just seemed to just really like him.
Yeah,
and
I get you.
Then he comes back, and it's just like he's never been away. I said it on Twitter that I think it's amazing that we seem to like have this pull over players. Like, they leave Hearts, but they never really leave. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I get you.
They're fans even after they leave. Like, Jimmy Dunn is another one that obviously I would love to have Jimmy Dunn back at some point. I think he's fantastic. He's doing really well at QPR just now. But like, all on his social medias and stuff, every time there's something Hearts related, he's liking it, he's loving it. And it's like, they're here for a brief time, but they just get a connection to the club, and I love it. And obviously Toby Sabek said it in his interview when he came back. He was like, I was never going to go anywhere else, which was amazing to hear.
Absolutely, because I did hear a few sort of rumors as well that before we approached him, Hibs approached him as well, but that speaks volumes.
Twice. They tried to get him twice. They've tried to get him twice in the last 2 years.
There you go. So with that being said, good luck to Matry Mitchell. So we move on. So like we said as well, we're going to delve into the game last Tuesday when it was Hearts versus Celtic at Tynecastle, a 7:45 late kickoff. The first half, I'm going to say, I think, even taking into account the way we played in Aberdeen and away to Motherwell as well, I'm going to, putting aside the fact that it was Celtic we were up against. I know that Celtic throughout the last sort of few months have gotten like a really good, strong team together, and they've started to blend quite well as well. But for that first 45, we were just non-existent. We looked flat. The confidence was kind of shot. Once Celtic started to get like a foothold in the game as well. Even to the point where there was times where we couldn't actually string one pass at all, and it was just a really horrible first 45.
Yeah, I can't really add much more than that, to be honest. I don't know what the game plan was. The system just looked. We went back to a 4 at the back, and Alex Cochrane was just kind of floating around, not really knowing where he was supposed to be. I don't know whether he was told to go further forward but yeah, the whole thing just didn't work to begin with. But I do think as well, obviously, having had time to kind of reflect on it, it was one of those games that anything you get out of a game against Celtic or Rangers is a bonus, regardless of whether you're home or away. I know there's people that say, we should go out and attack them right from the start and get in their faces. And we had a chance in the first minute, Barry Mackay. So it's not like we weren't trying to, but I think as well, I just think that, like you said, that Celtic have got this team together and it's blending now and it's working. Yeah, they were missing a lot of players, with injuries and things like that. So we did have a chance, but I just think that their system and the way they set up with this pressing, like they're very impressive to watch when they're on it. They are, and it's one of those that, like, we, as you say, we just couldn't get anything going whenever we had the ball. But it is frustrating. But I think Robbie was tactically outdone in that first half, and I think he knew it. at halftime. Obviously, he changed it, but they played a similar style to us in terms of pressing. Like, that's what we try and do. We saw it against Motherwell. Well, I saw it against Motherwell, but when you're up against, it's the same at any level. When you play a certain way, but the team you're playing against does it better than you, you're up against it already. And Celtic do, they've obviously been drilled with the pressing and, getting in faces and that. So, but yeah, it was a frustrating 45 minutes. But as I say, I was a lot more frustrated about it than I am now.
Of course, mate. Of course. I mean, it didn't help to the fact that that our right wing back Smith obviously had to go off not too long after the game actually started. I'm not sure what the injury specifically was, but I do, from actually watching it as well, it looked like it was his lower back as well. So I'm not sure how long that will keep him out for. But I will say, of course, when we talk about it for the Motherwell game as well. I've got to give some credit to Nathaniel Atkinson as well. I think he did relatively well, especially with this being his first sort of league game as well. I did like when the first 20 minutes with Jota going literally just flying past Smith, like throughout that left-hand side. I thought, I don't think Smith is going to have the legs to constantly go backwards and forwards. So I'm not saying that was a good thing that he got taken off, but at the same time, I thought Atkinson was probably the better option in terms of trying to keep up with him as well. And of course as well, I would like to add to the first goal from Celtic as well, because again, I went through a few things on Twitter as well. Now, in my head, it's sacrilege to say that Craig Gordon makes a mistake. Thinking Craig Boyd, absolutely not. But I mean, on first glance, and I'm not going to take away from again, excuse me for not actually remembering, but I cannot mind the Celtic player's name who actually scored. Would you happen to have that on hand, Alan?
Yeah, it's that Hatate, the midfielder. Right. Yeah, right. The midfielder.
Now, I will say it was a hell of a strike. Like the power, it was just ridiculous. But on looking back at it a few times, I don't know if it was just the power of the shot itself, where the ball actually moved while it was at Gordon, but at the same time, it looked a relatively okay angle for Craig Gordon to use both of his hands just to clear it. However, personally, I think because he's only got one hand out, and it looks to me as if he's trying to be tactical about it to push the ball out to the side. And I don't know if it was maybe an error from him or whether it was just an absolutely brilliant strike.
I mean, it could have been. I'll speak just a little bit about Atkinson before I kind of make a counterpoint there. But I think Atkinson coming on, he did well against Jota, but it took him a bit of time to kind of get up to speed and get going. Yeah. And it's very early, very, very early days for him. So it's not, I'm not going to judge him. And obviously, I've hyped him up enough as it is. But of course, I really like him. I think he's a really promising prospect for us to have. But to learn, obviously, that Australian League football is different from this level of football.
Of course.
Put it this way, you're not going to play against a Jota every week, but he did have instances in the Celtic game where he was giving the ball away.
True.
So, but again, we spoke about it. I spoke about it with Aussie Scout a few weeks ago that he's not the complete player yet. But he looks very good going forward. There was evidence of that against Motherwell, but yeah, he's still got things to learn.
Of course, yeah. No,
his first touch, for example, I think needs a little bit of work because he seems to kind of struggle a wee bit sometimes when the ball's played at him. But that was just an observation. But
of course, yeah.
No, in terms of the goal, I think it was a very good hit from the guy, and I think as well, I've said it multiple times, that if you're going to hit a shot from that far out, it has to be a brilliant shot to be able to beat Gordon.
Definitely.
I said it on Twitter after it. I said, Gordon should be doing better with that. And, looking back, maybe that was a reaction to it rather than actually realizing what was going on. But it was a hell of a hit.
Yeah.
And Gordon could have got two hands to it. He probably should have. But, it's one of those, it's the season so far, that's really the one kind of error that he's made that's cost us a goal. And I'm like, we've got to January before our goalkeeper made a mistake.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
No, man, of course.
You kind of brush it off in that respect.
Absolutely, Alan. And on that point as well, of course, it didn't take Celtic long to build on that first goal. They obviously got the second goal from a cross in. It was a very, you could probably just say that Celtic done quite well in that respect. I mean, I don't think there's probably much else we could have done. I know that way that the ball came in. I know that you had both Gordon and Sutter like quite like sort of like in quite close proximity to try and stop it, but like again, like I mean, what can you do, Alan? Like I mean, it was just it was that kind of game where once they scored the second goal, you just automatically thought that it was kind of done.
Yeah. I mean, the second goal was offside though. It was offside. The cross comes.
I wasn't gonna bring this up, but I know that you're the kind of person to to pounce on that. So please, fire away, sir.
Yeah, he was offside. He was like it's. There's not much to say. Like the ball.
I know.
Like you say, they worked it well. They played it around well, and then they found a cross, and the boy Giamakis or whatever his name is, was offside. But I could go on a rant about offside decisions and refereeing in Scottish football, but I feel like I talk about that nearly every week. So
of course.
And to be fair, we benefited from a similar situation later on in the game, but it was offside. But
what can you do?
There was an inevitability they were going to score a second goal. When they got the first one, it was like, right, we weren't playing well enough at all.
Absolutely not, Alan, and that continued right on through to the end of the first half. When we got into the second half again, I don't think we started off particularly well. I know that Robbie said that we played a lot better in the sense that we were trying to make things happen. We were getting into Celtic spaces as well. But I'll be very honest, in my mind, I don't think we actually started to play until we got that the first goal. I mean, you could probably argue that was probably our first and like our first proper chance as such, throughout the whole game.
Yeah, I think the second half he went in at halftime and they knew they had to do something, So he brought Sims on for Ginnelly, who was absolutely awful in the first half. I don't like being critical of Ginnelly because I like him.
Of course not. No,
he was he had a massive off day in that first half. But he brought Sims on, changed the system up a little bit, had Boyce up there with Sims, and they looked a lot better. They looked a lot more kind of. There was more of a unit to them, Ginnelly in the first half. It was more of the same as what I've said about him before. The decision making just wasn't quite right. He was doing that thing where he tries to take somebody on when he should pass it, or he was playing a cross when there was nobody in the box. It was a day to forget for Ginnelly. But then when Sims came on, he looked solid. He gave us an out ball, gave us somebody to hit when we were under pressure, which was good. And yeah, look, we played a lot better in the second half, but it still wasn't great. But, when you're 2-0 down already, you're kind of like, right, anything's better than what we've just watched for 45 minutes.
Absolutely, Alan. And in that same sentiment, since I've got the horrible job of going through the Celtic goals, would you hype up and go through the first goal?
Yeah, it's funny because I don't really remember it all that much. But
I can tell you one thing, Alan. It was offside.
It was. Oh yes, it was.
100% offside.
But this is the thing that, like, again, and I've talked about this before. It's something that I really don't like is when defenders just stop.
Yeah.
Because they assume someone's offside, and I think Celtic kind of did that. I think they just kind of thought, Boyce is offside. It's not going to be a goal.
Yeah.
And then he just sort of finds himself in a position to score, and you're just like, I was watching it, and I didn't realize that the goal had actually been given. I thought they were gonna stop it and the linesman was going to put his flag up or something. But I mean, it's one of those that you get a bit of luck, you get a bit of good fortune. The first goal that Celtic, the second goal that Celtic scored was offside. Ours was offside as well. So maybe you can say it balanced it out, but yeah.
Possibly, Alan, possibly. But then, of course, as well, we got an opportunity to actually get back onto level terms as well. Obviously, Hearts got a penalty through a handball. Pretty sure it was beat on. I think I might be wrong, but again, like it doesn't actually matter now. But of course, it was like just a bit of horrible luck. When the Boyce takes the penalty, it does quite well to send Joe Hart the wrong way. and then it took just a freak bounce off of the post and literally dragged itself right like along the line for it not to actually go in. On a point on that, like as well, because again, like, you know, once the game was done, much like yourself, Alan, I went onto Twitter to see what the sort of, like, you know, if things were like, you know, were being said. And I will say now, I will not have people saying that Voice himself cost us like a point. I'm sorry. The like, when it comes down to it, the whole squad cost us like a point, and one player should not be blamed for that. Like, I mean, if I'm right in saying that's the first penalty he's missed this season. I know that he's had one saved and he's hit one in from the rebound, but I'm pretty sure that's the first one that he's missed. Yeah,
Not sure on that. I think he's missed a couple, to be honest.
All right, okay.
His recent record of them. No, his recent record hasn't been that great. He started well with his penalties, and there was almost that confidence that he's going to get them. But his recent record hasn't been fantastic.
Okay.
But yeah, it's one of those. It's a penalty. You've got a chance to put it away to get us back level terms. I don't think he makes the best connection with it. That's my issue. He sort of kind of scuffs it a little bit. But look, Joe Hart goes the wrong way, and it's just unfortunate it comes back off the post. But yeah, very much like you. I think you've been reading my tweets when I said that about Liam Boyce, because a lot of it was, you know, like you said, a lot of it was the timeline of, you know, he shouldn't be taking penalties, which, by the way, I agree with now. I'd give somebody else a shot. But I think blaming Liam Boyce for the fact we didn't get a point or even go on and win that game is wrong. I think, it's reactionary after the result. Yeah. But Liam Boyce has been one of our best players this season. Like,
absolutely,
one of our most important players anyway. So yeah, but look, it's one of those. The first half is what cost us a point in that game. But you know, Robbie had a plan, obviously, which didn't work. Didn't work at all. But that's life. Again, as I say, anything you get out of the Old Firm is a bonus, regardless of whether you're at home or away. We played a lot better in the second half. That's encouraging. Another massively encouraging point was Benny coming back. Playing for a portion of that second half. When he came back on, the midfield just looked so much more stable. Cammy didn't have a great game for me. He was doing his usual, chasing around, trying to, you know, snap into tackles and press the ball and try and win it back. But that's just what Devlin does, and he's great at it. But the problem is, against Celtic, again, like I said earlier, they've got players that are good at it too, you know, they just played it round him. You know, they just played the ball through Cammy Devlin constantly. They were just not allowing him to press them. They were just moving the ball much quicker than we were. But yeah, look, it's going back to Liam Boyce and the penalty, which is kind of what we were talking about. Penalties there's a bit of luck involved in a penalty. You know, I know people say you can practice them, and, you know, there's not as much luck as people make out there to be, but he's inches away from putting that in the net.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I do think, and I do kind of agree with the sentiment of giving somebody else the next one.
Okay.
I think his confidence in front of it, I don't have his exact record off the top of my head, but I think he's missed the last two potentially.
Okay.
Again, I'd need to look back at it and check that. But yeah, I think another person maybe needs to have a wee go at them. I don't know who that could be. Maybe Kingsley, but then people say the cup final penalty that he took against Celtic wasn't good. So, but it's I'd keep Kingsley on free kicks. He's better at them.
Aptly said, sir. Aptly said. Well, at the end of the actual game, like, there wasn't actually much as such to add after the penalty miss again. The game just kind of tivered out like as such, and unfortunately it ended in a 2-1 victory to Celtic. But we move on to a slightly more positive result on the following 4 days that went on. As of yesterday, as we are recording on the day after, our favorite fans who love this podcast as such, Motherwell had a second visit to Tynecastle yesterday, and again, just to kind of not to kind of put like a slight downer, like on the actual game itself. But even though we got the 3 points, and I'll take for any sort of performance at all, as long as we get the 3 points. But like, of course, like I'll let you talk about it more, like Alan, because you were actually there. I wasn't overly convinced by the overall performance. Again, I thought the first half looked a bit sloppy at parts as well. And I'll be very honest, I thought at the end of the first half, again, in my view, I thought if there was a team that deserved to actually be in front, I genuinely thought that it would be Motherwell. I don't think we caused them enough problems as such. I thought after like maybe 10 minutes, Motherwell did start to actually get a foothold as well. Like obviously, like apart from our goal, up until that point, I thought they had the best chance through Van Veen, which kind of just his shot just kind of slipped past the post as well, and they started to do that constantly. But what a beautiful finish from Andy Halliday, though, my boy, fucking Andy. But yeah, I just had to get that out, Alan. But yeah, like I said, as you were there, I'll let you take the lead on this one, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the biggest, or the first thing to say is obviously when the team news came out, it was a few changes. I think he'd made 5 or 6 changes to the game against Celtic, because he had Taylor Moore came back, who, yeah, I don't think he was fantastic, but he came back and it's good to see him back. Obviously, Halliday, as you say, came back in. Atkinson played on the right. Benny was started next to Devlin, which I thought was a bit unfair on Haring, but it is what it is. Gary Mackay-Steven started, as did Ellis Sims. Now, there was a lot of changes in that team. I think obviously with the Edinburgh derby in mind, I think he was wanting to keep players like Barry Mackay fresh, for that game, which is totally understandable.
Yeah, no, of course.
The system that we played was slightly different. Sims was playing up front, and Boyce and Gary Mackay-Steven were the two sort of wide options, but they weren't really wide. They were kind of in the channels, but not, if you know what I mean. Like they weren't like wingers like a Ginnelly or a Barry Mackay. They were kind of cutting in. But I think the first sort of section of the game, like you mentioned there, I think we were still kind of adapting to that. And I think Boyce was still trying to adapt to playing like out on that wide area, because he's normally the focal point. He is normally the one that's in the middle. So it took him a bit of time. I don't think he was fantastic in the first half, because he doesn't quite have the engine for me. And I said this to the people I was sitting with. Boyce is a fantastic player, but he's not a runner. He's not going to get down the lines and in behind people. That's why you have players like Barry Mackay and Ginnelly. They can do that.
Yeah.
But to be fair to him, the second half he was very good. But it was the system and the changes they kind of worried me a bit, because I thought, I understand why Robbie's done it, because he's obviously got the idea of the Edinburgh derby in the back of his mind. But I almost felt there was maybe too many changes to the lineup. But yeah, it was a scrappy start. Motherwell played better football than we did in the first 15, 20 minutes. We were slow to get the ball out. We didn't move it well, which was worrying, to be honest. But considering Motherwell, okay, we're significantly ahead of them now in terms of points in the table, but they are fourth,
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking, right, if we keep giving them chances, like the Van Veen one, like you said, they were going to get one.
Yeah.
They were going to score one eventually. And I think had they done that, it could have been a different game. But yeah, it was a slow start, but we didn't just go and sort of onto the Halliday goal. It came at a point where we didn't really deserve it.
Absolutely not, sir. Absolutely not.
No, but it was more of a case of Motherwell kind of being sloppy on possession, and we won it back. Sims drove into the box, did a little back heel, and it was behind Boyce. And when it fell behind him, I thought, oh, well, that's it. Chance is gone. But Boyce does incredibly well to get the ball back, nicks it back off the Motherwell defender, falls to Devlin. And Devlin, I think the entire stadium was screaming for Cammy Devlin just to have a shot.
You and me both.
Honestly, like, I really want him to get a goal. I thought that's a chance. But to be fair to him, it shows massive intelligence to look up and see, well, Andy Halliday's completely open. There was nobody anywhere near him. I don't know where the Motherwell fullback was for the entire game, to be honest, because Halliday had freedom of that side of the pitch. It was almost like they looked at him and they just went, it's only Andy Halliday. We don't have to bother about him.
True, actually.
Yeah, it was a really good finish, though, as well. Back across the goalkeeper. Like I said, the team selection-wise, when I saw Andy Halliday in the starting 11, I thought, here we go again. But he actually did very, very well. And if we could have this version of Andy Halliday every week, I would happily give him a new contract. But
sorry, like for a split second, I genuinely thought you said that Andy Halliday played well.
He did.
Was that right?
He did. And I will openly hold my hands up and admit that, as regular listeners will know, I'm not a massive fan of Andy Halliday, whereas you are.
Mate, I think every Hearts fan is not a fan of Andy Halliday apart from me. So but in that sense, honestly, and I'm not saying it to get folk the worked up or that, but I'm genuinely asking you as as a Hearts fan, and of course as well, if we were still in the Championship, of course it would probably have a different sort of outcome, but the way that things stand now, and like you said, providing if he were to play like that, when he's called into action, would you feel, just to have as a squad player, would you genuinely think about offering him, even if it's like a 1 year's extension?
I think the biggest thing is his wage. I think he'll be on a decent chunk of change.
Oh, yeah.
To be fair, Halliday, he's not going to be one of the lowest earners in the team. So I think it's a difficult one, because I think if he takes a lower wage and accepts that he's going to be a squad player, and he's maybe not going to play every week.
No, of course not.
He's a squad option. The game yesterday was his 50th appearance for Hearts, and he scored 7 goals. That's not bad.
That's not
for a player that
bad at all.
No, that's not bad at all for a player that's kind of played in multiple different positions and hasn't really done fantastically in any of them.
No. Exactly. I mean, he scored 3 already. So again, for somebody that's not a regular starter, and for somebody that plays at a left the wing back, it's not a bad the run for him. But again, I mean, I guess the question I'm trying to ask is that, do you think it would be worthwhile for us to go and get somebody else that's younger, fitter, most likely the better than him, or to maybe push through one of the academy players as well? I mean,
I think another thing to point out is that Alex Cochrane's only on loan until the end of the season. So there's also an element of, do you keep Andy Halliday, because at least that way you've got a left back?
Yeah, I guess so.
Assuming that's where we're going to stick with him.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to see Alex Cochrane back next season,
but
I don't know whether we will. I don't know whether we will. But if we can't, Andy Halliday is an option, and then you go out and sign a first choice left wing back and say, right, Andy, you're the backup. But we've spoken about Andy Halliday lots on this podcast, and I think he does get a bit of an unfair rap from fans, and I'll put myself in that category as well, because when he comes on, he can be dependable. He can be a player that you go, do you know what? He wasn't terrible. And he did all right. And I think
he did all right.
I think I put him in the same bracket as a Gary Mackay-Steven. I think yesterday, when I saw Gary Mackay-Steven on the lineup, I thought, oh God, that's a waste of a jersey. He's invisible. But he wasn't bad.
He did all right.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. All right. And I thought, do you know what? That's what you want from squad players, rotation players that aren't in the team every week, but when they come in, they do something.
Yeah.
And Andy Halliday deserved his goal, looked solid all game. And to go back to your question, I'm not going to sit on the fence for once. I'm actually going to give you a definitive answer. I would give Andy Halliday a new contract. I would, providing he accepts his position.
I get you.
But then it would be up to him to go, do I want to stay here and be a squad option, or do I want to go somewhere else where I'll play every week?
True. Yeah.
So but yeah, I probably would. I probably would, to be honest. I would at least ask him the question.
Then that's the nicest thing you've said about him all year, Alan. Thank you for that. Honestly, warmed my heart. Anyhow, so after the first goal, we went into the second half, a goal to the good. And of course, as well, our big man up front who made, I mean, I don't want to say that he made his home debut because, of course, like he played for the second half, like against Celtic, but let's say that he made his full home debut, and Ellis Simms managing to get his first goal in only his, come on, you and count maths, think 135 he's played on the ball, Alan. And he managed to get his first goal.
And I said at the start that he got 8 goals in 20 odd games for Blackpool when he was there. So there's no reason why he can't go and score maybe 4 or 5 between now and the end of the season. We've got 15 games to go. And easy. There's no reason that he can't get a few goals. I'm not going to sit here and ask him to hit 10 and get double figures, but it's like I said at the start as well. He takes the pressure off Boyce, and that's exactly what he did yesterday. Second half in particular, I think we probably at half time they had a conversation with Boyce and said, right, just give the ball to his feet rather than trying to play it in behind all the time, because as I say, Boyce is not the sort that will run in behind. And when we finally actually did that, you could see the link up was there. Like Simms, and even against Celtic, like he signed on that day.
Yeah, I know, and then he's straight in. Yeah,
his signing was announced like an hour before kickoff, and you're like, wait a minute. And then it's like, he could play tonight, and you're like, what? But he came off the bench against Celtic, and there was already something of an understanding there between Boyce and Simms. And I think the more they train together, and the more he trains with his team, and his teammates understand what he can do, there's no reason we can't get goals out of him. He was singing the praises of Benny as well. Obviously, they came through at Everton together,
of course,
which is nice to see. I like the look of Simms. I really do. I think he's a big guy, but he knows how to use it well. I think that's the biggest thing. I think Hearts have had strikers for a long time that have been big guys, like target men, that you just literally ping the ball at and it bounces off them. Nandule being the latest example of that.
Oh, you just had to get him in there, then you sweet prince,
sweet Prince Nando, sweet Prince Nando. He scored on his debut, by the way.
Again, I knew you would fit that in somewhere, but yes, he did score on his debut for Le Mans. Yes, well done,
but back to Simms. I think there's an intelligent player there, and you can see that he's got something about him. The goal, obviously, Cammy Devlin, as you say, storming forward with the ball at his feet. He seems to be doing that quite a bit more recently. I've noticed he likes to drive forward with the ball, which isn't something that we saw at the start of his time with Hearts, but he's obviously maybe grown a bit more in confidence and thinking, right, the only way I'm going to score a goal or be involved in one is if I drive forward. So, he did well. But I think if you go back and watch the goal again, Simms' movement is what opens it up for Boyce.
Just literally left and right.
Yeah. He almost runs towards Boyce and then runs away from him, taking a defender away with him. And Boyce, again, I've said it multiple times, I'm a massive fan of Liam Boyce and his intelligence on the pitch. And he gets forward. He could have had a shot, but I think the best option for him to do was to square it. And Simms was there, practically an empty net, and he just taps it away. Is it the best possible goal? Like, for your first goal, make it an easy one. He doesn't have to score an overhead kick from a corner or something. Give him a tap in for his first goal. That's ideal. Get him off the mark. Toby Sabek coming in on that second half.
Yeah, it was nice to see him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I missed the dreadlocks because he, when he was with us the last time, he had these wee dreads.
He worked the dreads, didn't he? Worked those fucking dreads.
He did, but hopefully they'll make an appearance at some point again. But no, he came into the second half and absolutely strolled it. Like, he literally could have been playing in his slippers. He was outstanding. And there was one moment that I remember that he lost the ball, lost possession, and it led to Craig Gordon doing a wee jig and the ball getting caught under his feet just outside the box. I don't know if you remember it.
I remember.
So that was Sabek's doing. But to be fair to him, he came back and offered himself an option to Gordon to get the ball away. So he did make up for it. And again, like I said about Gordon, if that's his one mistake that he's going to have in him at the moment, I'm happy with that. But
come on, no.
It's a cracking signing, to be fair. I don't think we've not made enough of Toby Sabek signing, to be fair.
Absolutely not.
He's a young lad, 22, come back, 3.5-year deal, I think it is, 2025.
It is, yeah.
It could be a cracking bit of business. And yeah, as I say, played in his slippers the whole game and absolutely strolled it. But to be fair, I said it on Twitter that quite a few of our players, in the second half in particular, they were playing in their slippers. You know, Peter Haring came on, looked class as ever. Toby Sabek was great. Ellis Sims was fantastic. It's funny because I don't know if you won't have read it because you don't have it yet, but the match day program, the This Is My Story boys, they did a feature, and they said something along the lines of, it's refreshing to see Hearts winning games now that maybe a couple of years ago we would have struggled in.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or we probably wouldn't have won. And I think the game against Motherwell fits into that category, because I think 2 or 3 years ago we played that game the way we started that game, Motherwell would have scored. You know, but we seem to have a resilience and a bit of character about us at the moment. And as the game was going on, I was almost sitting in my seat and I was just like, well, it's done. You know, the second goal went in and I was like, that's it. We finished it. And it needed a second goal to kill it, though, because you just don't know how these games are going to go. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it was really, really, really solid and just a nice, comfortable ride through to the end. But the one thing as well that I will mention was the penalty claim towards the end of the game. Your man, Andy Halliday, getting back in the box again. He was body checked. He did go down.
I know.
I don't know what your opinions of it are. I'll let you kind of say what you think.
I mean, to be fair, it comes back to what you said like a few weeks ago as well. Like, I've seen far less challenges that have been given like a penalty, and I've seen far worse that I've not. I think in terms of a body check, like, it's not like you couldn't put that down to like shoulder bars because Halliday doesn't go in to actually win that, the actual the ball.
Yeah,
I think if you put that outside like in the box, that's a free kick, all day long. But I think because it was in the box again, like there's arguments to both sides. I think if it was given, you could probably say, all right, that's quite fair enough. But the fact that we didn't, and the fact that Halliday didn't protest for it, you could say that it's maybe a bit soft. But I think if it was, you couldn't have any complaints about it.
No, I think personally, I think it was a penalty. Because like you say, it wasn't like a 50-50. No. Andy Halliday was running through and the Motherwell boy just basically took him out, essentially. Yeah. So I think it was a penalty, to be fair. But it would have been interesting to see who would have taken it if it had been given. But no, and then, that was pretty much kind of the last kind of meaningful thing that happened in the game. Mm-hmm. But then obviously going on to, just moving on to what Robbie said after it. What Robbie said after it really encouraged me a lot, because I think where I was sitting, there was a lot of people round about saying, we've had a rubbish day today. We've not been good enough. And performance-wise, hasn't been good enough. But at the end of the day, you win. It matter.
Yeah.
But then what Robbie said after the game was spot on. He basically said, happy with the result, not happy with the performance. And you're like, that's what you want to hear.
Yeah, no, exactly.
As I said earlier on, this is a Motherwell side that are fourth in the table. And we basically strolled through that second half with no worries whatsoever. And I don't know if that says more about the quality of the league or the quality of opposition or whatever, but Motherwell will have played worse than that this season and probably won in a game of theirs, So we didn't play particularly well, but we won. And Robbie obviously has very high standards and high demands of his team, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely spot on, Alan. And on that note, like as well, just to kind of recap on that. So that is now Hearts 10 points clear of fourth place Motherwell, and also 12 points clear of our next opponent, Hibs, which we will briefly touch upon, which will be held at Easter Road on a ridiculous day on fucking Tuesday. Like, really? Like, Tuesday? Fucking hell. And so, yeah, it brings us on to the second Edinburgh derby of the season now. You and me, Alan, we talked about it just last week when we went through these 4 games, and I think we put it down to the most crucial games was the Motherwell and the Hibs game. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be an easy task by any means. Obviously, Hibs have not been on the greatest run of form. Of course, they got beat at home 3-2 by Livingston, which again, for any like sort of game, if you're going to play that next team, like, you know, for your next game, like you could say, all right, okay, well, that could like sort of be to play into our hand because they've not had the greatest run. But again, like I've said it plenty of times, all form just hops out the fucking window when it comes to an Edinburgh derby. So how are you feeling about it, Alan? Because of course you said on the St Johnstone review episode, you said it was going to be a 2-1 win to Hearts. Has your feelings changed about it, or are you still relatively or quietly confident that we can get a result at Easter Road?
Yeah, I'd say I'm quietly confident, to be honest. But there's always that bit of nervousness.
Oh,
there's always that
100%.
bit of tension of, you know, it might go wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, Hibs' recent form has been pretty shocking, to be honest. But you've got to remember as well, Sean Maloney's not long in the door. They're bringing in players. I think they're literally bringing in any player that knows where Easter Road is. At this point, they seem to be signing like
everyone.
They signed obviously Demi Mitchell, the boy Rocky, what's his name, Rocky Bashiru or something, the boy from Norwich anyway.
No.
Because they couldn't get Toby Sabek, they went and got the second choice, Rocky. And yeah, like there's obviously work to do at Hibs, but I think again, like you said, form goes out the window. It's all about who wants it more on the day. I'm still confident. I'm still going to stick with my prediction of 2-1, but I think it'll be an interesting game. I would absolutely love it. I'm going full Kevin Keegan here. I would absolutely love it if we battered them. Genuinely, I would love it if we battered them because I think that would show how far we've come. But do I have the confidence to say we're going to batter them? Not yet. If it was at Tynecastle, different story.
Alan, I was getting horny as fuck there, mate. Come on, you had to keep that going, mate.
I just think that, you know, you can never ever rule them out. I know they've been
absolutely
woeful recently, but you can never ever rule it out. But I am confident that we'll get a result. I'll put it out there into the universe that I think we are going to win. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think it will be a very scrappy game because these games always are. But yeah. I said it to you after the Motherwell game that game was scrappy. But the moment that we started playing some actual football, like getting the ball down and making the runs and moving it well, we can play some brilliant football.
And it's great to watch as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Like the goals, the Halliday goal and the Sims goal, the movement and the teamwork was brilliant. And even the Woodburn off the line chance, you know, like I say, when football breaks out, we're actually quite good at it. To be fair,
actually good at it, aren't we?
Yeah, well, we are. But that's what I'm saying. It's a nice surprise. It's a nice feeling to think, do you know what? We're actually quite a good footballing team when we want to be.
We can be at times. We can be at times.
I mean, we can be absolutely awful at other times, but yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see how the Edinburgh derby is going to go. Because the other side of it is Sean Maloney needs a good result. He needs one good result to catapult them and start them up again. And you know, what better a time to do that than an Edinburgh derby? But I certainly hope that doesn't happen. I hope Robbie Nielsen is the one punching the air at full time, and the fans that are going 3,500 Hearts fans selling out the Easter Road. It's the only ever time it ever sells out. But I hope they go there, and I hope they absolutely love it and come away with a very good result. Because I said it to you, I think if we can beat Hibs,
then
third place is done. Like,
definitely,
there's no, like, it'll have to be some massive collapse for us not to finish third if we manage to beat Hibs on Tuesday.
On that, mate, on that. And I'll probably stick to my score prediction of a scrappy 1-0 win. Again, I don't think there's going to be much in it. I think the teams, again, like, regardless of form from Hibs, I still think it's going to be a very scrappy game. For some strange reason, I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals. Like, I don't know why I think that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a scrappy 1-0 win for Hearts, and we are going to enjoy the hospitality of the 1874 bar. $5.50 a pint and a pie. Get yourselves involved, mate. Honestly, fucking steal. So yeah, me and Alan will be enjoying that at Tynecastle. But as you said as well, Alan, for everyone that is to go into the game as well, enjoy it and just have a fucking good time, and hopefully we can bring that back with the right result going to the Gorgie. So on that note, I think that kind of wraps up this week's podcast from the St. Abijang podcast. To all that have been watching, thank you to everyone as always, guys. It is always appreciated, and if you are not yet subscribed to the St. Abijang podcast, please think about subscribing, because as I believe we're only 9 away from 200 subscribers. And honestly, guys, it means so much. So honestly, thank you very much as always. And if you want to get in contact with us through our socials as well, you can. We're at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at SIWY pod. And alternatively as well, if you want to get in contact through our email as well, you can. It is also on screen, since Abijang1874 at gmail.com. So Alan, as always, thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully we can actually enjoy the scenes at Tynecastle when we play Hibs, and hopefully it will be a result of 3 points.
Certainly hope so. And if we've still got any Motherwell hangers on, I hope they enjoyed their second trip to Tynecastle this season and had a nice safe trip home, because they left before full time. So they beat the traffic and got out nice and early. So thanks for coming. See you next time.
Well timed, boys. Well timed. And on that note, we shall see you in the next one. You take care. Bye for now.